mindfulness. What is the mind full of when we practice meditation? Full of what? I'll suggest it's a mind full of now. A mind full of nowness, full of bright wakefulness. Direct contact with experience. So exploring mindfulness methods in this session will lose the sense of having to be somewhere else and will be fully present. All else falls away so that the suchness, the immediacy of this potent moment is what we're directly registering through this body-mind, and then skillfully choosing how to be with it, how to interact with it. Mindfulness, there's a term in Sanskrit that encapsulates the mindful methods that we'll turn towards in this session. And the word for mindfulness in Sanskrit is smriti. S-M-R-I-T-T-I, smriti. And this means to remember. To not forget the mind's natural state. And on our last full day of retreat here together, there's a palpable sense of what the organism has the capacity for in terms of immediate presence and intrinsic ease. We naturally move towards a balance, a harmony. And then the conditions, the tumultuousness of daily life will constrict or confine or condense in such a way that we tend to build psychic armoring on top of our Buddha nature, separating us from, circling around, bordering, protecting, sequestering Buddha mind, prana mind. Smriti means to remember who you really are, to not forget your capacity, your bandwidth for this buoyant, really pleasant, patient openness. It's vivid. It sees clearly. It's not distorted by perception. Now, this is not a path of perfectionism. Mindfulness isn't to find a circumstance where serenity can be bred. It's to know that you were born in with a touchstone of serenity that can midwife ourselves through any situation we're in. Mindfulness is waking up to all aspects of this moment, of this day, of this life, in the beauty and the brokenness. There are 3 central principles for mindfulness. These are cumulative practices. They build on one another for a gradual awakening. So we'll have, over the course of our meditation time, we'll have these really slow and stubborn paces where it almost feels like we're dragging ourselves through the mud. And in those moments, we have to trust that these principles are gently accumulating within us, even when we can't tangibly see or feel the impact of our daily practice. We have to trust and lean into and have teachers and Sangha that remind us that it's an essential component of wellness and wholeness to put the pause button on the regular momentum of life and come back in to the fullness, the mind full of now. So it's called taking up the one seat. I'm going to be the loving present witness of this life and take a stance, take a seat, take a poise of the soul where I can remember who I really am underneath it all. And so those moments of gradual awakening, they'll be hard to measure with that same kind of yang-centric, productivity-oriented mind stream that we're conditioned by to feel instant gratification and immediate growth. But in my time as a death doula, I can say for certain that when you sit with someone on the brink of transitioning, if there's enough lucidity, they will recall the moments along the path where smriti suffused the whole inner field. One man who had just done one meditation retreat decades earlier recalled it. I remember as I'm crossing over onto the other side, I remember what it was like to really be fully here with myself. And those who have the most difficult time transitioning are the ones who spend their lives cut off from the mind-body, separated from their Buddha nature. So then there's a sense of when the body has to be put down, there's this sense of gripping, like I haven't quite fully waken up inside of this body yet, and now you're ripping it away from me. I'm not ready. To have the accumulation of days and days, and then years and years, and then a whole thread of a lifetime where each day, if even for a few breaths, I remember who I really am, and I'm going to occupy this moment with now, with where I am right now. So that when it is my time, I can bow in and feel like I've fully occupied this vehicle. What's next? Trust the gradual awakening, and also know that as you practice, there will be swift shifts as well. There will be those glimpse insights like fireworks, like the dawn breaking. There will be those too of these up levels in our evolution that would have taken many, many years had we not been practicing. But somehow when we put ourselves in the formless dimension, we can actually jump over a lot of the hurdles that would have been in our way if we didn't learn how to occupy ourselves fully in difficulty and in discomfort and along the edges. So there is inevitable cumulative results of gradual, slow progression for this heart mind, for this human psyche, and there will be those practices where just a reorganization of the system occurs. And I know you've all felt both in this container. moments of like, I'm just slogging through, and when is the bell going to ring, and why am I here? And then moments of clarity and insight. It's a lucidity of, self is present. Self is present. So when I say spiritual amnesia, we'll have smriti, and then we'll forget, and we'll remember, and we'll forget lifelong. And so the daily meditation sphere is where we build the environment. You know, yin cools the inner climate. IFS creates a protocol for us to navigate what inner storms are coming through. And so the meditation practice is where we build the subtle layering of understanding. Sometimes that's a slow build, and sometimes we have flashes of awakening that'll change the way we are internally lifelong and how we relate to others in the world around us. And we never know which sit and which practice is going to deliver those. So 3 central principles for evolution to occur in our meditation practice. The first, create a container for acceptance. The Buddha calls it upekkha, equanimity, yeah? Develop the capacity to accept life. Remember, as I said yesterday, if things bother you more as you get older, you're growing in the wrong way, the wrong direction. Does getting my way right now really matter? So with the life force that we're given and with the timeline that we have in this vessel, we're unsure how long that is and how much chi we really have. We make a choice to either accept or to resent or resist what's occurring. In other words, learn to cherish your practice regardless of how it's going. It will not always feel blissful. And that's fortunate for a practitioner to come across consistently. Otherwise, we won't build the capacity to accept when life does what we don't want it to do. And so meditation becomes the training ground. I'm feeling uncomfortable, anxious, urgent, apathetic. How fortunate am I to have this distaste so that I can learn how to sit with it on my tongue. The second principle is to build the altar of the inner body so that you can sit with edges. In order to accept life, you have to accept yourself in this life. You have to create an inner temple, a sanctum in the body so that there's a corridor of stability you can wander through and refine self. A place within that knows how to be with what's difficult. Vihara, as the Buddha belly, central intelligence, center of gravity, inner domain of safety, low belly. Get out of the head and the thought mind and the storylines. Get out of the complexity of the interpersonal domain of the heart where I have tugs of desire, wanting validation from others, seeking comfort. feeling envy or disdain. Self-trust is rooted in the belly, supported by that wrap of the kidneys, the water chi, that ease, that restorative essence for the life force, held by the sacrum, haras supported by that dense and holy bone. Literally keeps us tethered, keeps us from falling off the planet, our center of gravity. When we can accept what's occurring in the nowness of our lived experience with a certain vivid willingness, a curiosity. Curiosity is one of the purest forms of the Buddha mind. That inquiry of, what's it like now? What's it like right now? Just living into that as a contemplation will flower curiosity in the system so that we can accept what's here with a sense of wonderment. And then to have wonder for what's occurring and to be quite stable with who we are internally, we're then able to come to this third principle of relaxing storylines. Drop the narrative. Don't feed the pattern. In your mindfulness practice, put it down. This is where we get to create a shift in our identity. So that who we are as a fixed person in the social fabric, who our family sees us as, what the story of our origins are, whether others around us in our immediate sphere deem us as worthy or not, relax the story about who we think we are and what the world has told us that we are. And opt for naked attention instead. Meditation, sometimes called undressing the mind. So that whatever arises, there's a liberated, malleable, flexible heart-mind. What's it like right now? Rather than being informed by where I just was or where I'm being magnetized to next. What's it like right now? And can I open into a freedom, a boundless space of being unconfined and undefined by my personality structure, by my preferences, by my relationship, by my occupation. So the practice isn't compromised or undercut by the stories we tell ourselves. The stories about either who we are or who we're not and should be instead. Relax the storyline about who you think you should be in order to practice mindfulness. The very definition points towards meeting ourselves as we are right now. So if we sense the form body being sculpted or shaved or shaped in a certain way where there's a striving to transform, you go back to that third principle as a mantra: relax storylines. Once we've created a container, once we've built the altar of the inner body and we can relax who we thought we are, who we think we should be in order to practice, there's 3 results. There's 3 gifts, 3 treasures that we'll start to absorb into the being. And this first is that the fragmented aspects of our personality dissolve. We have less confusion about ourselves and others. We're less fractured by experience. It's more difficult to pull us off of our center line. We don't dissolve or unravel or spiral. We're more integrated. It diffuses negative patterns, meaning rather than suppressing or reacting to negativity, we learn how to host emotions more skillfully so that we have room for them to be in the altar of the inner body, but we're less pulled by them. We become less pulled by our emotions. We can have anger without being defined as angry. We can sit with hunger without becoming hangry. The Spanish is such a more eloquent way of saying tener hambre. I have hunger. It's not I am hungry. I'm not defined by this condition, this emotion, this sensation. There's room here. I have mood tones. I have personalities. I have preferences. I have fears. And there's a central leadership here. There's self-energy that's not pooled, not triggered, not condemning, not ostracizing or exiling the emotional swells, but we learn to surf the waves of stimulus. Back to inquiry, what's it like now? When we can integrate those fragmented aspects that have separated, for some of us from a very young age, those parentified roles, the rigidity structure, the defensive paradigms, when we've able to integrate and soften those warriors, those vigilant managers back into the psyche, open dimensions of our being are revealed. When we're less pulled by our mood tones, Buddha nature sweeps the system, illuminates from the inner body, from the hara, who we really are. So we see in this third result of a mindfulness practice, we see that we're not just our personality. We're not just a result of cumulative experiences that happen to us. We are open intelligence. We are connection. The radiant Buddha mind, prana mind's revealed. Even as we keep looking through the murky details, there's a vivid seeing, undistorted clarity. That's the definition of vipassana. It means clear seeing. And so my hope is that you continue to take up the one seat as you leave here. And keep opening up into this wonder of what's it like now, and can I be with what's here? And underneath what's here now, can I sense the loving, open, spacious Buddha mind beneath it all?